The deadly kiss. The cold steel walls of the cell-far prison hummed with energy. Serena Cade sat in the middle of her cell, hands bound behind her back. The air smelled of damp metal and fear. Outside the bars, alien guards whispered to each other, their glowing eyes filled with terror. "She is dangerous," one of them hissed. "We should not keep her alive." Another guard, taller and more confident, scoffed. "It's just a story. No human can kill with a kiss." Serena smirked. They had no idea. The XL-Far Empire had captured her days ago, dragging her from her ship and locking her in this dark cell. They believed the rumors were just myths. But the truth was far worse. Her kiss was death. A deadly test. The prison doors hissed open, and a group of XL-Far warriors marched inside. At the front stood General Virex, one of the most feared commanders in the Empire. His green-scaled skin shimmered under the dim lights, his sharp teeth bared in a cruel grin. "So," Virex said, stepping closer, "you are the human they fear." Serena met his gaze. "You tell me." Virex laughed, turning to his soldiers. "They say this woman can kill with a kiss. That one touch of her lips will melt flesh from bone." The guards shifted nervously. Virex leaned forward. "I don't believe in fairy tales." Serena raised an eyebrow. "Want to find out?" The room fell silent. Virex smirked, stepping forward. "Very well. Let's see if you're as deadly as they say." He grabbed Serena by the chin and forced her to stand. The guards gasped, stepping back in fear. Serena did not resist. Virex leaned in, pressing his lips against hers. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then the screams began. Virex's body convulsed, his skin boiling and peeling away. His eyes widened in horror as his flesh melted like wax, revealing muscle and bone beneath. His hands clawed at his face, but it was too late. Within moments, his body collapsed into a pile of ash, his armor clattering to the floor. The guards stood frozen in terror. Serena spat on the ground, wiping her mouth. "Told you." The panic. Chaos erupted. The guards stumbled backward, some dropping their weapons. The alarm blared through the prison. Serena Cade was no longer a prisoner. She was a threat. "Seal the doors," one of the aliens screamed. But it was too late. A human voice echoed from the hallway. "Serena." She turned to see Ethan Voss, another human prisoner, racing toward her. His clothes were torn, his face bruised. "They're going to execute you," Ethan said, panting. "We need to get out. Now." Serena cracked her knuckles. Agreed. A guard lunged at them, but Serena sidestepped, grabbed his helmet, and slammed his head against the wall. The alien collapsed, unconscious. Ethan quickly grabbed the fallen guard's weapon. More soldiers stormed in, aiming their rifles. "Run," Ethan shouted. Serena and Ethan sprinted through the corridors, alarms flashing red. The XL-Far were too afraid to get close, but they weren't afraid to shoot. Blaster shots sizzled past their heads, scorching the metal walls. Serena ducked and rolled, grabbing a fallen soldier's energy blade. "Cover me," she said. Ethan fired at the guards while Serena charged forward, slicing through their defenses. More guards poured in. The XL-Far were done playing games. Trapped, Serena and Ethan reached the docking bay, where alien ships lined the metal floor. Freedom was so close. But standing in their way was XL-Far war commander, his armor gleaming like obsidian. "You are not leaving," he growled. Serena clenched her fists. "We'll see about that." The commander raised a shock weapon and fired. Pain exploded through Serena's body as electricity surged through her. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. Ethan turned, aiming his stolen rifle, but the commander was too fast. He knocked Ethan to the ground, pressing a boot against his chest. "Pathetic humans," the commander sneered. "You think you can escape." Serena's body ached, but she lifted her head. "You should be afraid," she whispered. The commander frowned. "Why?" Serena smiled. Before he could react, she grabbed his wrist and kissed his hand. The commander's eyes widened in horror. His arm began to disintegrate, the infection spreading up his body like wildfire. He screamed, stumbling backward, trying to stop the decay. Serena pushed herself up. "Told you." Ethan grabbed her hand. "Let's go." They sprinted to a nearby Excelfar fighter ship, jumping inside. Ethan quickly activated the controls while Serena held off the remaining guards. The engines roared to life, and the ship blasted out of the docking bay, escaping into the vastness of space. The unknown message. For a moment, everything was silent. The stars stretched before them, endless and free. Serena slumped into the seat, exhausted. Ethan let out a shaky laugh. "We did it," he said. Serena glanced at him. "Not yet." Before Ethan could respond, the ship's control panel flickered. A transmission came through, a deep mechanical voice. "Serena Cade, we have been waiting for you." Serena's stomach twisted. Ethan frowned. "Who the hell is that?" The voice continued. "We know what you are." Serena's fingers tightened into fists. Who were they? And how did they know her secret? The Great Escape. The stolen Excelfar fighter ship raced through space, engines roaring as it fled the burning prison station. Inside, Serena Cade slumped against the co-pilot's seat, her breath uneven. Her body ached from the electric shock, but she ignored the pain. Ethan Voss, gripping the controls, navigated the ship through asteroid fields and cosmic debris. His fingers were tense on the console, sweat forming on his brow. "We're clear for now," he muttered, but his voice held no relief. Serena didn't relax either. The words from the unknown transmission echoed in her mind. "Serena Cade, we have been waiting for you." Who were they? And how did they know her? The ship's warning system screeched, snapping her out of her thoughts. "Incoming pursuit. XELTAR warships DTCTE." Ethan swore. "They're not letting us go that easily." Serena's fingers flew across the control panel, scanning the radar. 3 massive Excelfar warships were closing in, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. "They're charging plasma cannons," she warned. Ethan grimaced. "I don't think this ship has shields strong enough to survive a direct hit." Serena cracked her knuckles. "Then we don't get hit." The chase through the void. The Excelfar warships fired. Bolts of plasma energy streaked through the darkness, lighting up the void like shooting stars. Ethan jerked the controls, dodging left, then right, weaving through the deadly barrage. Serena watched the targeting system. They needed to find a way out. Fast. There. She pointed at a debris field ahead, the remains of an old, shattered moon. Ethan didn't hesitate. He plunged the ship straight into the asteroid graveyard, spiraling between broken chunks of rock. Behind them, the Excelfar warships hesitated. Their vessels were too large to maneuver easily through the dense wreckage. Serena smirked. They won't risk damaging their ships. Ethan grinned. Then let's make sure they don't get the chance. He flipped a switch, activating the ship's rear cannons. Serena locked onto the closest warship and fired. The blast struck the enemy's hull, sending ripples of fire across its surface. The warships retaliated, unleashing a hailstorm of plasma that shattered asteroids around them. Ethan barely dodged a spinning rock the size of a skyscraper. "We can't keep this up," he shouted. Serena scanned the star maps. There was one option left, but it was risky. "There's an uncharted wormhole up ahead," she said. "It could take us anywhere." Ethan hesitated, glancing at the blinking red dot on the navigation map. "That could drop us into a black hole, or worse. Or it could save our lives," Serena countered. The ship shook as another blast grazed their wing, sending sparks across the cockpit. Ethan cursed. "Wormhole it is." He punched the thrusters. The ship lurched forward, engines burning at max power as they hurtled toward the swirling blue vortex in space. The Excelfar, realizing their prey was escaping, unleashed everything they had. But it was too late. The stolen fighter shot into the wormhole and vanished, lost in the unknown. The moment they entered the wormhole, reality twisted. Serena felt her body pull in every direction at once, her vision blurring with streaks of neon light. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring. Ethan fought to keep control. "I can't hold this thing." Then, with a final gut-wrenching jerk, they were spit out into unknown space. The cockpit's screens flickered. Serena blinked, trying to steady herself. "Where the hell are we?" Ethan muttered. Serena checked the readings. "I don't know." The stars looked different. The surrounding space was filled with purple gas clouds, and strange floating structures hovered in the distance. Something about this place felt wrong. The ship's systems crackled, and suddenly, a voice echoed through the speakers. "Serena Cade, you finally arrived." Ethan and Serena exchanged looks. "Not this again," Ethan muttered. Serena gritted her teeth. "Who are you?" The voice was deep, mechanical, and filled with something ancient. "You were never meant to escape the XL-FAR. But now we have a new path for you." Serena's pulse quickened. "What do you want?" The ship shook, caught in some invisible force. "We want you to remember." Then a bright light engulfed them, and everything went dark. The secret resistance. Darkness. Serena's mind drifted in an endless void. Her body felt weightless, as if floating through space. A voice echoed in the emptiness, cold and mechanical. "You were never meant to escape the XL-FAR. But now we have a new path for you." Her breath quickened. "Who are you?" The voice ignored her. "Remember who you are." The darkness shattered. The unknown awakening. Serena's eyes snapped open, lungs gasping for air. Blinding white light filled her vision. Her body was strapped to a metal table, cables running into her arms, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. She struggled, but her wrists were restrained. Panic surged through her. Where was Ethan? A blurred figure stood above her, humanoid, but not quite human. Their silver skin gleamed under the lights, and their eyes glowed like molten gold. "Good. You are awake." Serena jerked against the restraints. "Where am I?" The figure tilted its head. "Somewhere safe, for now." A door slid open, and Serena's breath hitched as Ethan was dragged inside, unconscious, carried by two other strange beings. Her voice turned sharp. "Let him go." The silver-skinned figure studied her. "He is unharmed. You, however, are far more complicated." Serena clenched her jaw. "Start explaining." The figure finally stepped closer, and in the sterile light of the room, she could see them clearly. They were not XL-FAR, nor any species she recognized. Their features were sharp, elegant, and almost ethereal. "We are the Obsidian Fleet, and you, Serena Cade, are the key to ending the XL-FAR Empire." The truth behind the legend. Minutes later, Serena sat across from a long table inside a high-tech command center. The silver-skinned figure introduced herself as Commander Nix, leader of the Obsidian Fleet, a hidden resistance force waging war against the XL-FAR. Ethan had woken up and sat beside Serena, still rubbing his head. "Okay, I'll bite. Who exactly are you people?" Commander Nix's golden eyes flickered with something ancient. "We are what remains of the first civilizations that the XL-FAR tried to erase. We have fought from the shadows for centuries. And now we fight for survival." Serena folded her arms. "And what does that have to do with me?" Nix leaned forward. "Everything." A holographic projection flickered to life above the table, displaying genetic data, Serena's DNA. "You are not just human," Nix said. "You are a product of XL-FAR experimentation." Serena felt her breath catch. "That's a lie." Nix shook her head. "The XL-FAR engineered you to be a weapon, Serena. Your deadly kiss. Your ability to kill with a single touch is no accident. It was designed." Serena's mind reeled. She had spent her whole life believing she was cursed, that her power was a mistake. But now, the XL-FAR had done this to her. Ethan clenched his fists. Why would they create a weapon like her and then fear her? Nyx's expression darkened. Because she was never meant to survive. Serena's stomach twisted. The XL-FAR created thousands of experiments like you. But something happened. You were the only one who lived. A heavy silence filled the room. Ethan shook his head. So they tried to kill her instead. Nyx nodded. The moment they realized you could not be controlled, they erased all evidence of your existence. But the rumors spread, and soon, even they began to fear you. Serena exhaled slowly. It made sense. The XL-FAR hunted her, captured her, and tried to execute her, not just because she was dangerous, but because she was a mistake they couldn't erase. She closed her hands into fists. And what do you want from me? Nyx's voice was careful. Join us. Help us bring the Empire down. Serena's pulse quickened. For the first time in her life, she had a choice. The traitor among them. Hours later, Serena and Ethan were given quarters inside the Obsidian Fleet's warship. Serena sat on the edge of a metal bunk, staring at the holographic data on her DNA. The truth was in front of her. The XL-FAR had created her. And now, she had the power to destroy them. Ethan leaned against the wall. So what are we thinking? Are these people the good guys? Serena exhaled. I don't know. But for now, we need allies. Before Ethan could respond, the ship's alarms blared. Warning. Internal security breaches. Detected. Ethan shot up. What now? Serena grabbed her weapon and raced toward the corridor, where armed Obsidian soldiers were already storming past. Nyx appeared, her golden eyes burning with urgency. We've been betrayed. Serena's jaw tightened. By who? Nyx's face hardened. One of our own has leaked our location to the XL-FAR. Ethan swore. They're coming. As if to confirm it, the ship's main monitor flickered to life, revealing the XL-FAR warlord on the screen. His armored form gleamed under alien lights, and his slitted red eyes locked onto Serena. Serena Cade, he hissed. You cannot run forever. The screen cut to static. Then the first explosion rocked the ship. The betrayal. The ship shook violently as another explosion ripped through the hull. Serena grabbed onto the metal railing, her body lurching forward from the impact. The XL-FAR had found them, and they weren't holding back. Klaxons wailed. The hulls of the Obsidian Fleet's warship were bathed in flashing red lights, warning of imminent breach. Ethan stumbled beside her. I thought these guys were a secret resistance. They were, Serena muttered, until someone sold us out. Commander Nyx sprinted past them, barking orders into her communicator. Defensive positions. Lock down the central core. Prepare for boarding. But it was too late. A deep mechanical voice boomed through the ship's comms. Surrender Serena Cade, and we will spare the rest. Serena's blood ran cold. She recognized that voice. Warlord Xavros, the XL-FAR's most brutal enforcer. A legend. A nightmare. She clenched her fists. No chance in hell. Ethan cocked his weapon. Agreed. But Nyx's expression was unreadable. Serena, if we don't give them what they want, they'll tear this ship apart. Serena's eyes narrowed. And you're considering it. Nyx didn't answer. The traitor revealed. The warship trembled again. Serena and Ethan sprinted toward the central war room, where officers struggled to maintain control of the ship's defenses. This doesn't make sense, Ethan said. How did the XL-FAR find us so fast? Serena exhaled slowly. Because someone inside helped them. They stepped into the war room just as Nyx arrived. She glanced around, then faced Serena. We have a problem. No kidding. Nyx's golden eyes darkened. I know who betrayed us. The room fell silent. Ethan tensed. Who? Nix turned to a console and pressed a few keys. A holographic security feed appeared, showing a shadowy figure moving through restricted areas of the ship. Serena's heart stopped. The figure stepped into the light. It was one of Nix's own officers, a man Serena had fought alongside during the escape, Captain Ralvik. Ethan swore. That bastard. Nix's expression hardened. He sent out a signal an hour ago. Coordinates, fleet status, everything. Serena gritted her teeth. Where is he now? Nix glanced at the security feed. Trying to escape. Serena didn't wait for orders. She took off running. The confrontation. The lower hangar hissed with steam as Serena burst through the doors, energy blade drawn. She spotted Captain Ralvik at a control panel, inputting codes to open an escape pod. You really thought you'd get away? Ralvik whirled around, his expression a mix of shock and defiance. He was a Xelfar hybrid, his reptilian features barely hidden beneath his human-like skin. I did what had to be done, he spat. The Xelfar are unstoppable. Siding with them is the only way to survive. Serena's eyes burned with fury. You doomed this entire fleet. Ralvik smirked. Not the whole fleet. Just you. He pressed a button on his wrist console, and the hangar doors slammed shut. Serena tensed as the room's ventilation system activated, pumping in toxic gas. Ralvik grinned. I was ordered to deliver you alive. But dead works just as well. The deadly kiss awakens. Serena coughed as the gas thickened, burning her throat. Her vision blurred. She had minutes, maybe less. Ralvik stepped closer, drawing his own blade. You should have joined them, Serena. You were made to be a weapon, but you never understood your purpose. She stumbled, knees weak. The gas was poisoning her blood. Ralvik chuckled. And to think, all this time, the great Serena Cade could be defeated without even a fight. Serena smiled. Ralvik's grin faltered. Then he realized. The air around her was shifting. The gas wasn't killing her. It was feeding her power. Serena's eyes glowed silver, her veins pulsing with raw energy. The genetic mutation the Xelfar had designed in her was evolving. Her voice came out like a whisper. You should be afraid. Ralvik lunged. Serena vanished. In the blink of an eye, she was behind him. Before he could react, she gripped his face and kissed him. Ralvik's scream never finished. His body disintegrated, flesh melting into nothingness, leaving behind only ashes. Serena exhaled, the last of the gas swirling harmlessly around her. She had changed. She was stronger. And now, she was unstoppable. The battle begins. The moment Serena emerged from the hangar, alarms blared again. Ethan ran toward her, relief flooding his face. You're alive. Serena nodded. Ralvik isn't. Nix joined them, face grim. The Xelfar have begun boarding. We're out of time. Serena rolled her shoulders, a newfound power humming through her veins. Good, she said. Let's finish this. The ship shook violently. A massive Xelfar boarding craft latched onto the hull. The final battle had begun. Serena turned to Ethan. You ready? Ethan smirked. Always. Nix handed Serena a high-powered energy rifle. If we survive this, I'll owe you a drink. Serena grinned. Let's make sure you do. The doors burst open, and Xelfar warriors flooded in. Serena charged forward, eyes burning silver, ready to unleash hell. The warlord's secret. The warship shook violently as Serena and Ethan sprinted through the corridors, weapons ready. The Xelfar had breached the hull. And now, the battle raged across every deck of the Obsidian Fleet's flagship. Serena's newfound power pulsed beneath her skin. The deadly energy that once required touch was now spreading through her body, feeding off the adrenaline and chaos. She turned a corner and blasted two Xelfar warriors, their armored bodies crashing into the walls. Ethan fired at another, dodging return shots as flames erupted around them. This ship won't hold for long, Ethan shouted over the chaos. Serena gritted her teeth. Then we end this now. Nyx's voice crackled through their comms. Serena, Ethan, fall back to the command center. Warlord Xavros himself is here. Serena's pulse spiked. Xavros, the monster who had spent years hunting her, the warlord who feared no one, the one enemy immune to her deadly kiss, face to face with a monster. The command center was a war zone. Dead Selfar and obsidian fighters littered the floor. Smoke and flashing red lights painted the room in chaos. And at the center of it all, Warlord Xavros. He stood taller than any Selfar Serena had faced before, his obsidian armor etched with scars of 100 battles. His crimson eyes locked onto her, and for the first time in a long time, Serena felt something close to fear. You ran for so long, Serena Cade, Xavros said, his voice like a deep, rumbling storm. But you were always meant to return. Serena tightened her grip on her weapon. Big talk for a dead man. Xavros grinned, revealing razor-sharp fangs. You misunderstand. I am not here to kill you. I am here to finish what we started. He raised his massive clawed hand, and the ship's gravity shifted. Serena and Ethan were slammed to the floor, their weapons torn from their grip. What the hell? Ethan gasped, struggling to move. Serena fought against the invisible force, her arms trembling as she pushed herself up. Xavros wasn't just strong. He was controlling the very gravity of the ship. I was created for war, Xavros said, stepping forward. I was engineered to be the ultimate Selfar warrior. And so were you. Serena froze. No, she whispered. Xavros laughed. You still don't understand, do you? You and I are the same. We were designed in the same laboratory. You are not a failed experiment. You are my counterpart. Serena's darkest truth. The gravity released its hold, and Serena staggered to her feet, her mind racing. She had always believed she was an accident, a failed experiment that the Selfar wanted erased. But now, Xavros was telling her something far worse. She wasn't a mistake. She was part of a plan. A part of him. Ethan was already back on his feet, raising his blaster, but Xavros didn't even flinch. Shoot me, human, and I will tear your spine from your body before your heart stops beating. Ethan hesitated. Serena's hands curled into fists. If I was meant to fight alongside you, why have you spent years trying to kill me? Xavros tilted his head. Because you were weak. You ran. You feared your own power. I hunted you because I needed you to become something more. His eyes burned brighter. And now, you finally have. Serena's chest tightened. She had felt it ever since Ralvik's betrayal. Ever since the gas chamber. Ever since her kiss had become something more than just a touch. Her power was growing. And Xavros knew it. Serena gritted her teeth. Whatever you think I am, I'll never be on your side. Xavros smiled. Then I suppose I must break you. The Battle of Titans. Xavros moved faster than anything Serena had ever seen. One moment he stood across the room. The next, he was right in front of her. His fist slammed into her gut, sending her crashing through a steel wall. Ethan fired his weapon, but Xavros caught the plasma blast with his bare hand, absorbing the energy before launching it back at him. Ethan barely dodged, rolling to cover. Okay, so that's new. Serena pulled herself from the wreckage, wiping blood from her lip. Xavros was stronger than any Selfar she had fought. But she wasn't the same either. Serena took a deep breath and let her power rise. The air around her burned as silver energy crackled over her skin. The ship's metal walls warped from the sheer force of her presence. Xavros smirked. That's more like it. They clashed. Their blows shook the entire command center. Serena ducked, spinning under Xavros' attack and slamming her elbow into his ribs. He barely flinched before grabbing her by the throat and throwing her across the room. She crashed through another console, sparks flying. Xavros charged, but this time, Serena was ready. She raised her hand. And for the first time, she didn't need to touch him. Gavros staggered as his body started to dissolve. His armor cracked, his skin burned, his eyes widened. "You." Serena grinned. "I evolved." Gavros roared, fighting against the decay. His body regenerated almost instantly, but there was something new in his gaze. For the first time, he was afraid. Serena cracked her knuckles. "Let's go again." The final blow. The ship's structural alarms screamed as their fight tore through the walls and systems. Gavros lunged, his claws flashing. But Serena was faster. She ducked, dodged, then slammed her palm against his chest. A pulse of pure silver energy erupted from her hand, blasting Gavros through the ceiling. The XL-Far warlord crashed onto the deck below, his armor shattered, his breathing ragged. Serena landed in front of him. Gavros tried to move, tried to speak. Serena placed her hand over his face, her deadly kiss ready to finish him. But she hesitated. She had spent her whole life running, hiding, killing because she had to. But now, for the first time, she had a choice, and she chose to leave him broken. Serena turned away. "This war isn't over," Gavros. And then, without looking back, she walked away. The ultimate weapon. The warship trembled beneath Serena's feet as she walked away from Warlord Gavros' broken form. The battle still raged around her, alarms blaring, fire licking at the walls. But in that moment, everything felt silent. She had defeated him, but she hadn't killed him. Ethan jogged up beside her, breathing heavily. "I can't believe you just left him alive." Serena exhaled, her hands still burning with silver energy. Killing him would have been too easy. Ethan scoffed. "And now he'll come back for revenge." "Let him." Serena's voice was cold. "Next time, I won't hold back." She glanced toward the nearest holographic console, scanning the ship's condition. The Obsidian fleet was losing. The XL-Far were overwhelming them, despite their resistance. Serena clenched her fists. It wasn't over. Not yet. Then the ship's internal comm system crackled to life. "Serena Cade, we need to talk." The voice wasn't Gavros. It wasn't Nex. It was something else entirely. And Serena recognized it. A message from the past. A nearby console flickered, the screen distorting before stabilizing into an eerie transmission. The face that appeared made Serena's blood run cold. It was herself. But not exactly. The woman in the transmission looked identical to Serena, but her eyes were pure black, her skin slightly darker, and her expression was devoid of emotion. Ethan swore. "What the hell?" The transmission Serena spoke in a calm, chilling tone. "You are not the first, Serena, and you will not be the last." Serena's breath hitched. "Who are you?" The other tilted her head. "I am what you were meant to become." The screen glitched, and suddenly, a new location appeared on the holographic map. A hidden XL-Far research facility, deep in uncharted space. "Come find me," the clone said, "and learn the truth." The transmission cut off. For a moment, neither Serena nor Ethan spoke. Then Ethan exhaled sharply. "Yeah, okay, I officially hate today." Serena was still staring at the screen. Her own face, her own voice, but not her. She turned to Ethan, jaw clenched. "We need to go there." He blinked. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." Ethan sighed. "You realize this is obviously a trap, right?" "Of course. And we're still going." Serena smirked. "Wouldn't miss it. The hidden facility." Escaping the battlefield wasn't easy. The Obsidian fleet was still engaged in combat, and Commander Nix nearly lost her mind when Serena announced she was leaving. But Serena had to do this. So, with Ethan piloting a stolen XL-Far stealth fighter, they slipped through the chaos and jumped to the coordinates from the transmission. The journey through uncharted space was quiet, too quiet. Ethan kept glancing at her, waiting for her to say something. Finally, he sighed. So let's talk about the obvious. You have an evil twin. Serena rolled her eyes. She's not my twin. Ethan raised an eyebrow. She looks exactly like you. She's a clone. Ethan shook his head. Okay, but how does that even work? I thought the XL-FAR killed all their human experiments. Serena tapped the glowing veins on her wrist, still pulsing with silver energy. Maybe I wasn't the only one who survived. Ethan frowned. And if she's stronger than you? Serena looked out into the void. Then I'll just have to change the odds. The stealth fighter's navigation system beeped. They had arrived. The lab of nightmares. The XL-FAR facility was abandoned. At least, that's how it seemed. The massive structure floated above a dead planet, its dark metal hull covered in scars from old battles. Ethan set the ship down on a landing pad. Serena stepped out first, her instincts on high alert. The moment her boots touched the ground, the doors slid open, like they were expecting her. Ethan sighed. Yep, definitely a trap. Serena strode forward anyway. The facility was cold and sterile, its walls lined with glass containment chambers. Some were shattered, their contents long gone. Others still held frozen figures, their faces barely visible beneath the ice. Human figures. Ethan shivered. This place is giving me nightmares. Serena's voice was hollow. Because it is a nightmare. They moved deeper inside, past dark corridors filled with dead consoles and broken machinery. Then, the lights flickered on, and Serena froze. At the center of the room stood a row of containment pods. Each one held a clone of her. Some were younger, some older. Some looked exactly like her, perfectly preserved. Ethan's hand hovered over his weapon. Serena. Then, a hissing sound filled the air. One of the pods opened, and the clone from the transmission stepped out. Serena versus Serena. The clone stared at her with those eerie black eyes. You finally came, she said. Serena squared her shoulders. Who are you? The clone smiled. I am the perfected version of you. Ethan muttered, yeah, that's not creepy at all. Serena's clone tilted her head. You were the prototype, the first successful human XL-FAR hybrid, but they knew you were flawed. So they made me. Serena narrowed her eyes. And yet, they abandoned you here. The clone's expression darkened, because they feared me even more than they feared you. Then she moved. Serena barely had time to react before the clone vanished from sight, appearing behind her in a blur. Serena spun, blocking an incoming strike with her forearm. The impact sent shockwaves through the room. Ethan stumbled backward. Oh yeah, she's definitely stronger. Serena pushed back hard, creating distance. The clone grinned. You don't realize it yet, do you? We're not just weapons, Serena. We are the future. Serena wiped blood from her lip. I don't care what they made us for. I make my own choices. The clone's eyes burned black. Then choose wisely. She lunged, and Serena met her head on.